Leos Carax is a filmmaker who I have always really appreciated from the very first film that I ever saw from him being Annette, a film that is one of my four favorites on Letterboxd and one that I consistently revisit, to films that are just so wacky and bizarre that it's really hard to pin down exactly what makes him special to me. There are films that he makes that I really enjoy, and there are films that he makes that I don't like at all. But that all comes with the uniqueness of such an audacious filmmaker as Leos Carax. Recently, he made a kind of a free-form self-portrait called It's Not Me, a short film of about 40 minutes long, which is a very wild ride and one that I have been really wanting to explore since it premiered at last year's Cannes Film Festival. Well, thanks to Mubi, I finally got to see it, and these are my thoughts to It's Not Me. Alright, for 40 minutes, this thing has so much to dissect and really embodies a lot of what Leos Carax represents as a filmmaker. He is someone that has defined French cinema for about 30 years now and has made all-time classics within that language of filmmaking and really representing different qualities of French filmmaking. From such classics like Morvis Sang all the way to Annette, he has had a career that has gone on for a long time, but he hasn't made a whole lot of films in that time. He usually likes to space out projects with massive gaps. And It's Not Me, I think, embodies so much about how Leos sees the world, so many ideologies that he explores in all of his films. And it can feel a little bit like a mess or over pretentious, and those are the things that I would say I don't like about this movie. I think Leos is a filmmaker that really excels when he explores feelings and relationships. I think a film like Morvis Sang or Annette is more up my alley rather than something like Holy Motors, where he just gets really bonkers and utilizes imagery in just such bizarre ways that it takes a lot to really dissect his films, and this short represents a bit of the best of both worlds. And I think for a good portion of this, you get that more wacky side of him, where you do see a lot of ideas and a lot of fan service into all of the movies from Leos Carax. I mean, Morvis Sang is one that gets represented a lot in this movie, and for good reason. It's a fantastic film, I think, and a lot of the portions here really represent how meaningful a movie like that is to Leos. By the way, if I am saying Morvis Sang wrong, I do apologize. The film is filled with silly imagery, silly editing, a lot of just strange things being included, like something about Roman Polanski and famous dictators that I can kind of see what he's going for here and what he means when he's putting these controversial figures of history into this movie, because Leos himself is a very controversial and can be very divisive filmmaker. Not that that's what it's supposed to represent, but at the same time, I don't really like the way that he does it here. I think it almost feels like it's done in poor taste, and I just can't really get a grip with that. And some of It's Not Me just isn't on my wheelhouse at all. It's just that level of Leos that doesn't work for me at all. But I think the film does redeem itself a little bit when it starts getting a little bit more personal. I liked showing the way that Leos as a creative raises his daughter in just a small snippet. The way it connects to his films and that love that he has is so pure and innocent, and seeing that play out in his movies is really beautiful, and I think It's Not Me does represent that in a lot of ways. There's also a lot about his political beliefs and the way that he sees the world and the way that it's evolving over time, especially the way that we're always overstimulated through imagery, whether that's something like social media being a key point in that. Leos touches on these kinds of themes, and I think he does it in a very poignant way, and those are the elements of this short that I really appreciate it. And even though a lot of this film can feel confusing or muddled, at points I kind of think that that's the point, and I think that's the way that Leos at times sees the world. I think that he's someone that hasn't got that defined worldview and is always evolving as a person, and I think It's Not Me does explore that in these very strange and bizarre ways that only he can do. There's obviously a lot here that pays tribute to famed French filmmaker Jean-Luc Godard. I am not as well versed in Godard's filmography like I am Carax, so it is hard for me to really make strong comparisons and talk about those elements, but it definitely does play a key part here, and obviously that is a filmmaker that Leos has idolized throughout his films and pays tribute to, and I think the way that he does that and explores that here is all very good. But I definitely cannot deny how up its own arse this movie can be at times. There is no way that you can tell me that this film is not pretentious. A lot of Leos Carax's films are as pretentious as it gets, and that's why some of them work for me and some of them don't, because I think sometimes he just goes a little bit too far, and I think he does do that here. But like a lot of Leos Carax films, I can appreciate his worldview, I can appreciate his style, and that is what draws me into an experience from him every single time, whether I like his movies or don't. I think they're always unique. I think he's a very singular filmmaker that is so worth exploring if you haven't. I think he's one of the true masters of French cinema, and as audacious as he can be, I think he can really create something so special, and there are parts of It's Not Me where I can see that rear its head, but that is after it does get bogged down in just a lot of crap and a lot of just images for the sake of images, talking about things that I've seen done a million times before, and doing it in a way that he's doing it doesn't really add that much for me. So this is a little bit mixed for me, but I do come out feeling quite positive about It's Not Me, and I think that's because I have seen quite a few of Carax's films and have adjusted to his style a little bit and do find it appealing. I think if you don't like Carax as a filmmaker, you don't like his movies at all, this is not for you. You are not going to enjoy this, and I'm not going to recommend it to you. Also, stay for through the credits, because the post-credit scene for this is one of the best post-credit scenes ever. As a fan of especially one of Carax's films, seeing something appear in this post-credit scene was just such a blast, and combining that with another iconic scene that Carax has created, I thought it was so fun and just a great little tribute to the way that he makes movies. I just thought it was brilliant. And those are my thoughts towards It's Not Me. If you've seen the short, let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and let me know what you think about Carax as a filmmaker. He's definitely one that I'm very passionate about, and as I said, even if I don't like some of his movies, I can always appreciate them and really understand what he is going for. And as I said, that's what keeps bringing me back, because I just think it's so interesting the way that he makes movies, and I really hope he has another one in him, because he really is a special filmmaker that you just need to check out. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.